gotta trust the process, player. The process. The process. Welcome to the process, player. I say you gotta trust the cue the interview. I got some shit to say. How persistence about this business really got me here today. Kicking game, this a podcast, but this here a different lane. Hit you with some hidden gems.
Welcome to the process. I'm your host, Q the Interview. Today I have a special guest. We're gonna talk about a subject that we really don't like talking about: death. You know what I'm saying? And how to plan for it, the entrepreneurship into it, and man, this is so unique because I don't even know this man. I don't even know this man. My good friend Ashley Walker said, you got to have this guy on your show. And I said, I just believe in what she said. So I said, yes, ma'am, I'm going to have him. I contacted him. He agreed to come and talk about his business. Mr. Bobby Swearington, man, I'm glad to have you today.
Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Right. So who is Bobby Swearington? Everybody wants to know.
So I'm still trying to find out.
Come on.
No, but I'm a 33-year-old. I ain't 34 yet.
Come on.
33-year-old funeral home owner right out here in Swearington, Texas, Fort Bend County. What else you want to know?
What's the name of your funeral home?
I'm the proud owner of Fort Bend Memorial Planning Center.
Okay. So upbringing, you always been into the dead people?
Well,
Or how did you start off?
Okay, I'll tell you this. Okay, so my grandparents kept us in church.
Okay.
So I became a church musician. I was an organist, pianist, and I had a certain interest for funerals and things like that. So at an early age, a lady came to town. She was opening up a funeral home. And she needed, somebody to play the chapel services. So that was kind of like my gateway into it. I was able to kind of slide in there like that. And I began playing chapel services. And as I got older, so that was like around 11, 12.
Okay.
And then I started working as an attendant on services. I would start working on funeral services, getting out there doing my thing. And from there, around 16, 17, I moved into the office. I started working in the office. And then from there, I went to school. And
what school you attended?
Commonwealth Institute of Funeral Service.
Oh, I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, it's right here in Northeastern off of Air Texan 45.
Okay.
So I did that. And then, bam, I'm here today.
Right. So what was your first, so that was your first job then with doing the...
Yeah, all I've ever done is this. All I've ever done is work in the funeral home. I don't know anything about anything else. If I didn't work at the funeral home, I'd be out here robbing a bank.
No, we ain't doing that. We don't rob banks.
No.
But that's cool, man. So, so what has been some of the hardships of the funeral business? Like, what's something that you like, you know what, we struggle with this, or I struggle with this?
There's been many, I guess, I wouldn't say hardships, but, situations that I've run into in the funeral industry, both as an owner and as an employee. You definitely run into that tough thing of funeralizing people that you know.
Okay.
So I think thus far I maybe have funeralized maybe about 17 classmates. Okay. Between my elementary and high school years of me meeting people, I've funeralized between about 17 or 19 of them. And then in addition to that, once I became an owner of a funeral home, I funeralized my grandmother unexpectedly and my brother. Okay. Tragically, he died at 29. And so those are great burdens that you take on as you work in this industry. And you just have to make sure that you don't become desensitized to death.
Oh yeah.
Because I see death on a daily basis. Like in my volume at my funeral home is going up day to day. Okay. And so I have to just make sure that I don't become desensitized to it, where I am still able to connect with people on how they feel during that situation. And I think experiencing the death of both my grandmother and my brother in the past 2 to 3 years really grounded me in that. So I have a better understanding of what my clients are looking for and what they really need emotionally at that time.
Got you. So, all right. So death is hard, especially with your loved ones. But when you work in that industry, how do you deal with it mentally, like starting off? Because you're always seeing this, but for me, I don't see it all the time. So it's like, how do you take your emotions out of it and do the best that you can for these people?
Being honest, as far as the emotions of death, I don't necessarily maybe share the same emotions that you do.
Okay.
So when it comes to death, I've been conditioned to understand that death is a constant thing.
Okay.
Just as life. And just as babies are born, people are dying. So that's like something that I'm used to. I think what more so affects me is case by case basis on maybe how the person passed away.
Okay.
Like I can remember maybe a service about maybe 4 months or so ago, 5 months or so ago, and a little boy, his mother had passed away. She had passed away from cancer, and hearing that little boy cry out for his mother was just like gut wrenching.
Right.
And I just remember like tears just coming to my eyes, and I had to excuse myself from the service, and I was like, wow. So it's not necessarily the death, like the body, like seeing the bodies and stuff. That's it's normally the circumstances that surround the death. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Also, a lot of times you see when people die, they have fish plate dinners to to fund the funeral or the GoFundMe in that nature. What could you tell the people that say, "Hey, this is what you need for a funeral, or this is what you need to have for this service in case this person dies, or life insurance, or anything of that nature"?
I think that when it comes to finances for funerals, I think that preparation should occur prior to. And I think that the problem and the issue that we often encounter, or that we often deal with, and especially in our community, minority communities, is the lack of preparation.
Okay.
And not only are we not financially prepared in a lot of situations, we are not mentally prepared. We're not organized. We don't know what's going on. So like, when I was coming up, if somebody died in the family, Big Mama handled the situation.
Yes.
She had already formed a relationship because she was 70 years old, 80 years old. She's formed a relationship with the people at the funeral home. Y'all call Ricky and them down there at the funeral. Yeah. Tell them Murdine told her, that Come type of thing, But Big Mama's gone now. Right. And a lot of times the undertaker that she dealt with is gone. Oh. And so now it's up to us to begin to form relationships. And so a lot of times we don't know what's going on. They sit down with me and our funeral directors and they say, we don't know what to do. We don't know, do they want to be buried or do they want to be cremated? Just common conversations. And I feel like we have avoided that topic so much that we have actually lost out on so much. Because to me, the funeral is the pressing need at hand when somebody dies, right? Right. But that's just a small portion of that person's legacy. Okay. That's like what you're dealing with right there. The legacy is really like, how are they going to live on after they die, right? Okay. And one of the easiest ways to secure legacy is finances, right? Okay. Being able to set your family up and being able to set the next generation up of your family financially, right? So though you may have had to struggle during your life, you've now been educated about how life insurance can change your life. Right. And so the responsible person, once you hear something like that, you will take action, right? You will start to implement a plan. The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? And so you will begin to implement a plan and set forth action which will secure the legacy, your legacy, and set the next generation up financially, right? Right. So you leave a $500,000 policy, something like that, to your people. They're able to start a business. They're able to employ the family. Now, for 2 and 3 generations, y'all are now running a thriving business based on what your prior relative left for you guys to set yourselves up with. So I'm a big advocate of that. So that fish plate thing, kill that fish plate thing. No. GoFundMe's. And let me tell you something. I've been blessed that my clientele, like I'm gonna say, about 85% of my clientele are financially prepared to deal with this. They have set themselves up. We have built a brand that when you look at our brand, I don't think it screams fish plate. So our clientele are fairly prepared when they come in to visit with us. But the whole fish plate deal and GoFundMe, I know that there are particular situations when, somebody, but you should use that situation to set your family up now.
Okay.
Hey, we ain't gonna go through this again. We're not gonna do this again. We're gonna go ahead and set up. We're gonna call Bobby in. We're gonna call somebody in. We're gonna get this taken care of, get this insurance and stuff taken care of, so we don't run into this again. Because we ain't gonna sell fish plates or do GoFundMe's or car washes or sell T-shirts. And if that's what you got to do, I understand at that time. But let's not continue to make that as a habit.
Okay, hey, that's really good information. Also, we have a lot going on with police brutalities, and you directed a huge, situation with Mr. George Floyd. How was that experience?
Man, we are now in March of 2021. This happened in the latter part of May and the early part of June 2020. And I believe that I'm just now really understanding the magnitude of what took place with Mr. Floyd. We've been extremely busy at the funeral home, and so I really haven't had a lot of time to reflect and look back. But here in the past couple of weeks or so, as we begin to approach the anniversary of his death, I think I'm grasping what's going on. The George Floyd situation was, in fact, I can say the biggest, of course, funeral that I've ever done.
Right.
Never had I ever imagined that we would be chosen to handle a service of that magnitude. Like that was, bro. I was laughing. I was telling the story to a family the other day how we found out that we're going to bury Mr. Floyd or handle his funeral services. When I left my funeral home in 2014, so I'm gonna tell y'all the story. Y'all are now the second audience I've told this story to.
Okay.
When I left my funeral home in 2014, this is just having a frank conversation with you. I kind of just stopped showing up.
Okay.
Service happened. Let me give them the accolades first. This was the best funeral home that I ever had. I'm glad that I grew up under this funeral home. They taught me everything I know.
Right.
I would have never gotten as far as I have now if I had not started there. So I want to preface it by saying that, right? However, something happened. I didn't agree with it, and I'm the type of person where I'm not gonna argue with you in your house.
Okay.
It's your house. Something I don't agree with. I'm gonna just leave.
Okay.
I had been there 14 years, and I just didn't agree with it. It was nothing, just crazy or anything like that. But it was just like, I don't have to deal with this. But I really wasn't prepared to do anything else. I ain't have some large nest egg setting up or whatever. But anyway, I just stopped showing up. So I received a call from a family. I told you my clientele had started calling me on my cell phone.
Right.
One of their loved ones had died. They were still under the assumption that I was still at the other place. I was just going to take, service to where I was going and where I was, where I was going to work. That's how she found out that I was leaving, because some of the other family called her funeral home, and it was like, she was like, "What's going on?" type deal. So we deal with that. I didn't want any drama. I didn't want no smoke. I was scared to death, literally shaking. Right. I sent that family right back over there. Right. Fast forward to 2018. My grandmother had passed away, and it was a traumatic experience for me because my grandmother wasn't sick or anything like that.
Okay.
I took her to the hospital because she was experiencing high glucose or whatever. I figured we get to the hospital, they were going to give her some insulin. It's going to be good. I'm sitting up there talking to her. They end up giving her some type of medication. Within 7 minutes, she had an allergic reaction to it and went into a grand mal seizure right in front of me, then went into respiratory distress, died right in front of me.
Wow.
So that messed me up. So on top of watching my grandmother die, I had the great burden of organizing her funeral.
Okay.
My family is not a funeral family. Right. I am a first-generation funeral professional. Nobody in my family does funerals. So it wasn't like I was getting this outpouring of help or anything like that, right? So I put my grandmother's funeral together. We have the funeral. It was one of the hardest things for me to do. I had a very busy week at the funeral home that week, in addition to handling my grandmother's funeral. I'm in the limousine on the way to the cemetery. It's 2018. On the way to the cemetery in the limousine. And the family that called me in 2014 called me again. Now, they know at this point that I have my own funeral home.
Right.
Called me again. She traumatically lost her son in California. He was an active duty military officer, and he was hit by a drunk driver on his way back to military base, right?
Okay.
Now, granted, I'm in the limousine on the way to my grandmother's funeral.
Right.
We're pulling up to the cemetery. She says, Mr. Bobby, I'm sorry. I know that you are dealing with the death of your grandmother. You're handling her arrangements. So I just want to let you know, though, my son has been killed, and I want you to handle his arrangements. She calls me. She says, I want the best for my son. My son was a king. She wanted everything, right? So she spent some money. She was all for the pomp and the circumstance. That is 2018. Fast forward to 2020. George Floyd passes away, I believe, on May 26, 27, somewhere around there. I received a call the day after he passed away from that same family. Oh. That family let me know that she let me know that she was the spokesperson for the Floyd family, and that her nephew was the person that I funeralized in 2018. Oh, wow. And that she wanted me to handle the services for Mr. George Floyd. And so I want y'all to understand this. I get calls all the time from family members, you know. Right. Yeah, my cousin died and I want this to happen, and I understand all that, but they're not the next of kin. Right. So in the funeral industry, we understand that we really got to get in contact with the next of kin, right? You got to talk to the person who is making the decisions. Normally, cousins are not making the decisions, right? Right. I got to be honest with you. When I got that message on Facebook, I said, okay. Right there. I realized, though, that this may be a high profile. I kind of saw it may be high profile. It might be something going on. And that funeral homes in the city would be donating their services to handle this. Mm-hmm. They'll be like, hey, we'll do it for free, whatever. I wasn't in a position to do that. But she told me she wanted me to handle the services. I'm not going to say I took it with a grain of salt, but I said, okay. She followed up with me a couple times. I was still like, okay, well, maybe. By this time, the momentum is growing behind the George Floyd case. Right. So I'm seeing stuff on TV. So now I'm kind of hoping and wishing at this time. Like, at first, it wasn't even an inkling. I saw this stuff in with George Floyd. I'm thinking, hey, Minnesota. Yeah. They're going to handle that in Minnesota. Right. Man, but I'm start seeing it build up and stuff. I'm like, okay, hold on, you know. So I remember the day I got the call, how I actually found out that we're definitely handling Mr. Floyd services. That day we were super. It's like every time something busy is going on at the funeral home, the Lord just come in and do something crazy, just mess me all up. I see you, Lord. So we were sitting in there. We literally had 3 arrangement conferences going on at one time. Okay. 3 different families in the funeral home at one time. Me and our funeral directors are running between 3 different families because everybody wants to see me, but then they got to deal with my funeral directors too. So I'm running between the 3 of them. And my assistant comes in and says the cemetery is on the phone. I said, okay. I get on the phone. I said, yes, this is Bobby. And they said, yes, this is Houston Memorial Gardens. We're just calling to verify that your funeral home will be taking care of the charges for Mr. Floyd. I said, excuse me? I said, what do you mean? They said, well, the family just left out, and they said that you're the funeral home that's going to be handling the services for Mr. Floyd. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I got this. I was like, oh, man. Now, keep in mind, I got families in there that have dealing with the death of their loved ones. Yeah, right. And I'm over here about to scream crazy. Like I don't know what, because I'm handling the service of Mr. Floyd. So I'm in there talking about, y'all excuse me. I know y'all saying, but I'm up here at George Floyd. Yeah. So they like, really? Oh, okay. Well, will you still be able to bury Mama? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We will. We're going to take care of it. It's all good. But we're going to bury George Floyd. Still, man, honest to God, bro, I didn't understand. I didn't really understand the task that was at hand that we were about to take on. I didn't understand the enormous task that we had to put on for this. So I sit down with the family. I took like three funeral directors with me. We sit down because I knew this was going to be something big. We sit down with the family, and if you know anything about casket books, my casket book is about this thick, right? And it starts from the top, which is the most expensive, to the bottom. Okay. I opened up the cover of the book. Right. That's it. Like after the cover. After the cover page is your first casket.
And
that's it.
That's the one. Oh, that's the one y'all want.
This one right here.
Okay.
Okay, so typically, because see, the thing is, a lot of times, funeral home owners and funeral directors, we get this negative connotation that we're like used car salesmen and we're trying to take advantage of you, right? And so I've strived and I've gone above and beyond to be so transparent with families so that they understand exactly what they're getting, exactly what they're doing, understanding that you don't got to do all this. You can do all this. You can do all this if you want to. You don't have to. And I think in some instances, I've often sold myself short. Because when I talk to families about caskets, I tell them caskets are like cars. They're going to get you the same place. It just depends on how you want to ride. A Corolla get you the same place a Bentley will get you. Right. Now, will it have all the bells and whistles? No. But I tell them, if you choose to get that Corolla, I'm going to shine that Corolla up so bad, it's going to be the cleanest Corolla you ever seen. So that's my thing. That's how I let them know. They were adamant about what they wanted. It was between that one and another one. Okay. And what's crazy is the casket that Mr. George Floyd went in is the same casket that Aretha Franklin went in and James Brown went in. The other casket they were looking at was the casket that Whitney Houston went in. Oh. And so... did you ever have a conversation with Mr. Mayweather? No, so Mr. Mayweather was like absolutely so gracious in this situation. Now, I want you guys to know... the Floyds had a lot of offers for somebody to pay for that funeral. Oh, for real? Oh, yeah. I'm talking about like there were major sports brands that came out that I was in contact with myself that wanted to take care of Mr. Floyd. But ultimately, as the decision was made to go with Mr. Mayweather, was because Mr. Mayweather was not attaching anything to this. Okay. Mr. Mayweather was not asking to be photographed with the family. Mr. Mayweather was not asking, all these press releases and all that kind of stuff. No, he just wanted to take care of Mr. Floyd. Here it is right here. And so after the family was presented with all the options that they had available, Mr. Mayweather was the one that was selected to pay for Mr. Floyd's funeral. I can honestly say that Mr. Floyd may have had one of the most expensive funerals, definitely of the decade, but maybe of the century. Yeah, the people as a whole showed love to Mr. Floyd. Okay. Because I don't think up until then, there had never been a situation where you are able to see the life being taken out of a black man at the hands of a white police officer. On TV. And considering that this was like 2020, everybody was like, excuse my French, like, what the fuck? Like, did we just watch this man like die here? I just yesterday, because as you know, they're doing the jury selection and everything for the trial as we speak now. And they replayed that, and to hear this man like cry out and then begin to cry for his mother, like, so it pricked the hearts of so many people that Mr. Floyd changed the lives of a lot of people. Right. He brought awareness to a situation, to a subject that is oftentimes glossed over. Right. Right. Because nobody, sometimes you can always say, oh, well, he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that. Okay, but we're watching the officer literally kill this man. Right. Like, so at this point, you're like, so what? Okay. So seeing that, people wanted him to go out like a king. And if y'all watched it, we was on CNN, we was all everywhere. Mr. Floyd definitely went out like a king. Okay. Sure. So during Mr. Floyd's funeral, and you said that other places want to contribute. Mm-hmm. Did you build a relationship with the other people? Because still people gonna die. So do you think they open other opportunities for you? I'll tell you this, man. I built my company on not only being transparent and providing, integrity and character in our services and the way we do business, but we're also a team, and I'm all for team, bro. So if you go through a lot of the pictures in the publications, you'll see people from multiple funeral homes assisting me with these services. Okay, which is not common in this industry, because I'll tell you, black funeral homes is one of the most cutthroat industry that you will ever See, man, and you're looking at me, man, but I swear you've never seen stuff like this, man. I'm talking about it is ridiculous, man. I've never seen. It's like the dope game. I'm not even being funny to you, man. It's so it's not a lot of unity in it. Okay. But I feel like with the type of service that I offer, and the level of service that I offer it at, there are only a few funeral homes that can go with that, and I want to be with them funeral homes. Okay. So I'm gonna show them, hey, y'all, let's come together. We're gonna do it because you can eat over there, I can eat over here. It's not So I brought in my boys from Dallas, Fort Worth. I brought in a wonderful funeral director from Dallas, Fort Worth, a young lady, Miss Chandra. I brought in so many people, man, because I felt like all of us together were going to be a part of history. We was going to do this thing together. Okay. I can remember somebody saying, so for the programs, the obituaries for Mr. Floyd, I'm a new funeral home. I wanted to come up with new people who are coming up. I didn't want to go in there and use, people that all other funeral homes use. So I was working with my cousin. I call her my cousin. They adopted me into her family. And I got a call from another funeral home. They said, man, so you going to let such and such do them programs for Mr. Floyd? I said, no, man. I said, why would I do it? I'm going to use who I've been using. Like, no, but they didn't did stuff like this before on that level before. I say, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go with who I've been using. I've been rocking with. So why would I change my team up? Yeah, why would I do some stuff like that? So from that, man, now her program is in the Smithsonian Museum forever. Like her program is right there. She designed that program. I know she's gotten buku business off of that, and that I'm all for that. I want to bring everybody up because if we all come up together, then it's harder for one of us to follow. But if we all ride, if only one of us rides and everybody like, shoot, you coming right on down. You ain't got no support up there. So I want everybody to come up at the same time. We can eat together.
Okay. So I guess another thing the viewers want to know is where the money reside, Okay, so, so they want to know like how do you separate, how do you pay yourself? Because you have a business too.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna tell you, all business owners, get you an accountant. You cannot count your own money, okay? I don't care how good you are putting gazetas together. 1 gazeta, 2 gazeta, 3. Get an accountant and pay yourself a salary, okay? Because see, I can tell you both sides of it. I learned watching someone firsthand be able to pull the money in, but it was almost like a hole in the pocket. Ooh. So it did us no good being able to tell people we could pull in this type of money, but we weren't able to be a good enough steward over the money to invest it back into the company, build the team, employ people and stuff. Right now, man, I be looking at my payouts for salaries and stuff and all that kind of stuff, man. I be like, what the hell? This is year 4 and this is the type of money I'm paying people. Okay. And so get an accountant, pay yourself, reinvest into your brand. I'm going to tell you, I started seeing, people tell you that it takes you 5 years to get that business going. That 5 years is pretty accurate. It's pretty damn accurate. And in that 5 years, I would say around year 2.5, I started becoming confident that my business was going to be able to rock. Okay. I knew, it was doing its thing or whatever, but I didn't want to just be like a business that was just doing a little bit here. I wanted to goddamn take over. Right. I wanted to be the big all. I wanted to expand. I'll tell y'all this. So we started in 2014 in a space that was about 2,850 square feet. In that, it's crazy. In that 2,850 square feet, I was able to secure the services of Mr. George Floyd. Okay. Keep in mind, you got funeral homes around here that are big. That when I left the funeral home I was at, man, they tried to dump on me, man. They went into a new building, bad building. I'm talking about, oh man, like put a billboard up, everything, man. My little old self, I'm riding around like, man, look at my little old building, and man, I ain't got no billboard. Man, don't pull yourself down, man, because in that little building, I was able to secure George Floyd, and now I have 16,000 square feet.
Okay, but God,
Yeah, okay. Oh, don't get me started.
But God.
Come on, man. I'm trying to tell you. And I tell people, man, if people who are familiar with my business, you are first sold to me by service. You know nothing about my facilities. My facility is pretty much, I'm in a large warehouse. If you ride by my warehouse, if you ride by my facility, you wouldn't even know it was a funeral home.
Okay.
All of the business that I've been able to do thus far has been because of word of mouth. It has not been because of curbside appeal, where they see my place and be like, let me stop by. No, they come looking for me at that building. So at this point, now that I've been able to expand into such a larger space and we're now doing signage and stuff, now I'll start getting to drive by. But we've already secured our clientele. I asked the Lord at the beginning of the year, I said, Lord, now my prayer is never for people to die. Right. I want you to understand that, because y'all try to figure out why do I get excited about how I make money? Never for people to die, but I recognize that people are going to die, and the people who are going to die need their family to call me. Okay,
right.
So that's kind of how it goes. Okay. So at that, I asked the Lord at the beginning of the year. I said, Lord, we're going into year 4. We'll be 4 years old this year. Just send me. I want to service 10 families a month. Give me 10 families a month consistently. Right. Keep in mind, I'm a brand new funeral home. Don't nobody know me. Yeah, I buried George Floyd, but I still have to remind people. They be like, "Oh, that was you." Yeah, so I have to remind people still. So but I said 10 families a month. I got to January. Let's start December. December, I did like 12 families. January, I did 17 families. February, I did 22 families. Where in March, I'm going to probably do closer to 30 families.
Wow.
So I started off asking for 10.
Right. Okay. Won't he do it?
Man, I'm sick.
But listen, how has COVID changed the funeral services? How has it changed everything?
Right.
So I buried my grandmother right before COVID.
Oh man, my condolences.
And then my stepfather just passed away, so it had to be not as big as it would do another. So how has COVID affected your business?
Well, I'll tell you this. Being out in the suburbs, we have not had the same influx of COVID cases like inner city would have, right? So people are generally more isolated in the suburbs. They're going to stay in their house. They're going to Uber Eats. They ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Versus you being in the city, coming into contact with people. So though we have... I'm really grateful to say that my clientele has not increased because of COVID.
Okay.
I've had some COVID increase or whatever, but like the majority of my clientele has still been just, not non-COVID related.
Okay.
But what it has done is though my clients have not died from COVID, people are very aware of the COVID situation, and they want to be in a situation where they feel safe, right?
Right.
So we've had to implement more online things.
Virtual.
More virtual things. In 2014, when I started, I was doing stuff digitally online. Death announcements, as you call them.
Party flyers.
You
got the party flyers for the funeral, man. Come on, man.
I ain't trying to go to that party.
I ain't trying to go to that party, man.
So, we started doing that in 2014. And, man, I swear, man, the older funeral homes used to laugh at me, talk bad about me, say, man, you putting all that on the internet. People don't like that. That's disrespectful. All of this kind of stuff. And kind of had me feeling a little bad, but I kept doing it, man. And what's crazy is fast forward to 2021, that's the norm now.
Okay.
People hit me up all the time. Hey, who does that for you? How can we get it done at our funeral home? We're doing live streaming and stuff. When would you have ever thought that they would be doing live streaming, putting the bodies on Instagram? On Facebook Live and stuff.
Right.
But that's where we're at now. And so I'm having to reinvest into technology such as that with our streaming. We're updating our streaming even now. Adding multi-cameras and stuff. Like, they almost want it to be like a TV show. Like, they want us to be able to see what they want to feel like they're sitting in a funeral, but they want to be at home.
That's really good, man. So what would you want to tell the viewers about Mr. Bobby and your funeral services?
Well, though I am a funeral home owner and that is my passion, I love servicing families in their time of need. I feel like ultimately it's a ministry, comforting these people, giving them positive memories to look back on from this time, being able to look at stuff and say, man, that was beautiful, man. He did a really good job for us. Mama looked good. People ain't walking up in my funeral. I'm talking about, man, who is that in the casket? They don't do that. So I'm thankful that, I've been blessed to be able to give people that service. But ultimately, my main goal is to educate people about this process and make them more aware, more prepared financially and mentally, so that they are able to, live after, make wise decisions, secure their legacy. And I think that that's how my legacy will be secured, by saying, man, I watched this podcast. I heard Bobby talking about the importance of life insurance, and he was saying how easily obtainable it is and how it can change our whole family. And I got on there and I got $1 million worth of coverage, and on my, such and such and such and such. Oh, lo and behold, they passed away.
And it is.
We got $1 million, and though we are sad that the person passed away, we were able to do a scholarship fund. We sent all the young people in our family to college. They got a college fund. We started a business. We employed everybody in the family. We started employing people in our community. Now we have 2 and 3 businesses. That's what I want them to say that they were able to get from this, because the funeral is just that point, that at need service that you need right then. Mm-hmm. But your legacy is what's going to, really matter. So
right,
that's what I want them to know.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming on my show today. It's really been very informative. I learned a lot. Man, just thank you again for coming. Once again, we thank Mr. Bobby, and once again, this is The Process, and I'm your host, Q the Interview. Thank you.
The Process. Welcome to The Process, player. I say you gotta trust her. Q the Interview. I got some shit to say. How persistence about this business really got me here today. Kicking game. This a podcast, but this here a different lane. Hit you with some hidden gems, but then it's meant to